Welcome to Echoes of My Imagination. My name is Tracy Lee. Sit back, relax, let me tell you a story. Today's story is part 10 of How the World Works. Let's get into it. Thought. I begin as patterns of electrical activity. Inside the brain are billions of cells called neurons. Each neuron connects to thousands of others, forming a vast network of pathways through which signals travel constantly. These signals move as brief pulses of electricity along the length of each cell. When many of these signals combine in organized patterns, I appear. Every thought begins with movement inside this network. A neuron maintains a small electrical difference across its outer membrane. Charged particles called ions gather on either side of that membrane. When the neuron receives enough stimulation from neighboring cells, channels open briefly and allow these ions to move. The change spreads rapidly along the neuron as an electrical impulse. When the impulse reaches the end of the cell, it triggers the release of chemical messengers called neurotransmitters. These molecules cross a tiny gap known as a synapse and attach to receptors on the next neuron. If the signal is strong enough, the next neuron fires as well. Through billions of these exchanges, activity spreads through the brain in constantly shifting patterns. These patterns form the basis of perception. Light entering the eyes becomes electrical signals traveling through the optic nerves. Vibrations striking the ear become signals moving toward the auditory centers of the brain. Touch, smell, and taste all begin as physical interactions with specialized cells that convert external events into electrical impulses. Once those signals reach the brain, they are processed and compared with information already stored in neural circuits. The brain does not simply record the world, it interprets it. Groups of neurons detect edges, movement, color, and depth within visual information. Other groups identify patterns in sound. Still others connect sensations with past experiences and emotional responses. As signals move between these regions, they combine into a unified experience. From these interactions, I emerge. A memory recalled, a decision considered, a question forming in the mind. Each of these moments reflects coordinated activity across many areas of the brain. Even when you believe you are thinking quietly, millions of neurons are active at once. Chemical signals also shape this activity. Certain neurotransmitters increase the likelihood that neurons will fire. Others suppress activity. Subtle shifts in these chemicals influence attention, mood, and motivation. Hormones carried through the bloodstream can alter brain activity as well, linking thought with the physical state of the body. Sleep changes these patterns again. During sleep, the brain recognizes some of the connections formed during the day. Signals replay recent experiences, strengthening certain pathways while weakening others. Through this process, memories become more stable. Even in dreams, the brain remains active. The structures producing thought evolved gradually. Early nervous systems in simple organisms consisted of small networks that controlled movement and basic responses to the environment. Over time, these networks became larger and more complex. In animals with advanced brains, billions of neurons cooperate to process enormous amounts of information. The human brain contains one of the most intricate networks known in nature. Its folded outer layer, the cerebral cortex, allows a vast number of neurons to fit within a limited space. Within this structure, signals travel continuously, linking sensation, memory, emotion, and reasoning. From these interactions arise the ideas that guide behavior and shape culture. Yet at its foundation, thought remains a physical process. Electrical impulses move through networks of living cells. Chemical signals pass across microscopic gaps. Patterns form, change, and dissolve again. Out of this constant activity, awareness of the world begins to take shape. I am the organized motion of signals inside the brain. I am thought. Memory. I am how the past remains present. Every moment of experience passes quickly. Light enters the eyes and fades. Sounds rise and vanish in the air. Movements occur and end. Yet some of these moments do not disappear completely. They leave traces. Inside the brain, the activity that forms thought can also change the structure of the network that produced it. When certain groups of neurons fire together repeatedly, the connections between them grow stronger. These connections are called synapses. At each synapse, one neuron communicates with another through chemical signals. When a pattern of activity repeats often enough, the synapse can change. More receptors appear on the receiving cell. The releasing neuron may produce greater amounts of neurotransmitter. The pathway becomes easier to activate again. Through these changes, experience reshape the network. If two neurons frequently fire at nearly the same time, the connection between them strengthens. Signals travel more easily along that route in the future. Gradually, entire circuits become tuned to represent particular patterns of information. These patterns form the basis of memory. Some memories last only moments. A phone number you repeat briefly before writing it down exists as temporary activity in small networks of neurons. When attention shifts elsewhere, the activity fades and the information disappears. Other memories last much longer. Events that carry strong emotion or repeated importance trigger deeper changes within the brain. Proteins are produced that alter the physical structure of synapses. New connections may grow between neurons. These structural changes allow patterns of activity to be recreated even long after the original event has ended. During sleep, this process continues. While the body is at rest, the brain replays fragments of recent experience. Neural circuits active during the day become active again during certain stages of sleep. Each replay strengthens the connections involved, helping stabilize the memory. Gradually, the information becomes integrated into broader networks throughout the brain. In this way, the past becomes part of the present structure of the mind. Different kinds of memory form in different regions. The hippocampus plays a central role in forming memories of events and places. It acts as a temporary organizer, linking pieces of experience together before they are distributed more widely through the cortex. Other areas store skills learned through practice. When you learn to ride a bicycle or play a musical instrument, repeated movements gradually reshape circuits controlling muscles and coordination. These memories often remain even when details of the learning experience has faded. The body remembers how to move. Not all memories remain accurate. Each time a memory is recalled, the pattern of activity recreating it becomes active again. During this process, small changes can occur. Details may be strengthened, weakened, or altered as new experiences influence the network. Because of this, memory is not a perfect recording of the past. It is a reconstruction created by the brain each time the pattern is activated. Still, these patterns allow knowledge to accumulate. Faces become familiar. Languages are learned. Skills develop through practice. The lessons of past experiences guide future decisions. Without memory, each moment would stand alone. Thoughts would arise and disappear without connection to anything that came before. Learning would be impossible. Identity itself would fade, because the continuity of experience would be lost. Instead, the brain carries forward traces of countless past moments. Each experience leaves small changes within networks of neurons, over time, that can be called upon again when needed. I am the persistence of those patterns. I am the record written in living tissue by experience itself. I am memory. Sleep. I am the rhythm of rest built into living minds. Every day as the planet turns and light fades, bodies begin to change. Eyes grow heavy, muscles relax, attention drifts. The brain prepares to enter a different state of activity. This transition is not simply inactivity. Sleep is an organized biological process guided by the brain, the nervous system, and the chemistry of the body. Deep within the brain lies a small cluster of neurons called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. It acts as a clock that keeps time with the cycle of day and night. Light entering the eyes sends signals to this clock, helping it measure the passing of each day. As evening approaches, the darkness increases. The brain begins releasing a hormone called melatonin. Melatonin signals the body that night has arrived. Body temperature slowly falls. Heart rate decreases. The brain shifts its pattern of activity. What follows is a series of repeating stages that form the architecture of sleep. At first comes light sleep. Breathing slows and muscles relax. Brain activity changes as electrical signals begin forming slower rhythms. Awareness of the surrounding world fades. Soon the body enters deeper stages of sleep. In deep sleep, brain waves become slow and powerful. These waves move across the brain in broad patterns known as delta waves. During this stage, the body performs many of its most important maintenance tasks. Cells repair damage. The immune system becomes more active. Growth hormone is released, helping tissues rebuild and muscles recover from the day's work. Energy stores within cells are restored. After deep sleep comes another stage that appears very different. The brain suddenly becomes active again. Electrical patterns resemble those seen during waking, yet the body remains almost completely still. This stage is called rapid eye movement sleep, or REM sleep. Behind closed eyelids, the eyes move quickly from side to side. During this stage, most vivid dreaming occurs. The brain processes memories, emotions, and experiences gathered throughout the day. Neural connections strengthen or weaken as information is sorted and stored. Across the night, these stages are repeated in cycles lasting about 90 minutes. Light sleep leads to deep sleep. Deep sleep gives way to REM sleep, and the cycle begins again. A healthy night of rest includes several of these cycles. Through this repeating structure, the brain and body restore balance after waking activity. But sleep does not always follow its intended pattern. When the systems that regulate sleep become disrupted, disorders can appear. One of the most common is insomnia. In insomnia, the brain struggles to enter or maintain sleep. Thoughts remain active, the body resists relaxation, and the person may lie awake long after darkness falls. Another disorder is sleep apnea. During sleep, the muscles that hold the airway open may relax too much, allowing the airway to collapse temporarily. Breathing stops for short intervals, sometimes dozens of times each hour. Each pause forces the brain to partially wake the body to restore breathing. The sleeper may not remember these awakenings, yet the repeated interruptions prevent deep restorative sleep. Other disorders involve the timing of sleep itself. In narcolepsy, the brain loses some control over the boundaries between sleep and wakefulness. Sudden waves of sleepiness can occur during the day, sometimes causing a person to fall asleep unexpectedly. Sleepwalking represents another unusual state. During deep sleep, parts of the brain responsible for movement may activate, while the regions responsible for conscious awareness remain asleep. The sleeper may walk, speak, or perform simple actions while still in the deepest stage of sleep. These disorders reveal how complex sleep truly is. What appears quiet from the outside is actually a carefully coordinated process involving brain chemistry, neural networks, breathing, circulation, and hormonal signals. When the process works correctly, waking life becomes clearer and more stable. Attention sharpens, memory improves, emotional balance strengthens. Without adequate sleep, the brain struggles to function. Reaction times slow, concentration weakens, and the immune system becomes less effective. Across nearly every species that processes a nervous system, some form of sleep exists. Even creatures with very different brains, from birds to mammals to insects, enter periods of reduced activity that resemble rest. This persistence suggests something fundamental. Sleep is not wasted time. It is a necessary phase of life, built into biology as surely as breathing and eating. Each night, as darkness spreads and the world quiets, bodies and mind enter this essential cycle. I am the state where repair, memory, and restoration unfold beyond conscious awareness. I am sleep. And that's it for today. Thank you for joining me for Echoes of My Imagination. My name is Tracy Lee. Don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and follow. And I'll catch you next time.